Welcome to a game between Chungoose in red and Exploit here in blue. Exploit starts with a support commander and cloakbot factory, and Chungoose does the same. This is the map Vantage. It has two hills, and it has a central line that is low ground, and it has some higher hills here. So yeah, it can be a bit tricky to move up the hills, but otherwise most of the mexes are on the side here, and you can see here. And you have 3 mexes that you probably want to grab as quickly as possible. And yeah, Chungoose is going for a pretty decent economic start, and he's also going for heavy raiding. Raiding can be pretty good on this map. There is quite a bit of you can work your way around both of the sides of the bases, and the mexes are quite spread out, so it can be hard to protect the mexes early. So going for an early raiding like this, heavy raiding, is pretty good. Exploit is being pretty defensive in turn. He makes 2 Lotus turrets and he's stalling his economy doing that as well. So he's gonna be pretty safe here against Chungoose with the raid coming in. Chungoose loses 2 glaives there. If he was paying attention, he could have avoided probably losing both of them. And now he's idling his factory. He made a Lotus turret next to his base. That's fine. Gives you some protection, and this map is pretty raid heavy. Yeah, you shouldn't be idling your factory like this. I just recommend using repeat, and he does. Putting glaives on repeat on this map in this situation is pretty good. Let's see if he runs into the commander. He runs into the commander and loses 2 more glaives for nothing. So that's the thing, like if you have the attention there, you should be able to retreat them. Because yeah, glaives have decent line of sight. 560 range, and the commander has it has 330, so you have some leeway to see the commander before you run into it. It can be a bit trickier against Lotus turrets. But yeah, you're choosing a pretty safe expansion here. That's decent. I don't mind making some Lotus turrets. It's good protection against incoming glaives. Probably also want to get a radar out. I think you're planning to get a radar here. That's good. And you're making some solar collectors here. They're kind of forward, but this is a pretty easy space to defend because it's uphill, so the enemy is going to take some extra time to get up the hill. So yeah, that's good. You're expanding a bit faster than your opponent. That's nice. But yeah, the enemy is also making a lot of raiders. Their base is pretty secure, so yeah. Yeah, like you do, it's good to fan out and try to counter expansion going on. It's hard to know what's really going on. But also, you have to be aware of how many units the enemy got. This is a few more glaives, but with the commanders should keep your the glaives should keep your commanders safe against this amount of glaives. But you're not balancing your expenses here, so yeah, you're starting to excess now. If you're just gonna spam glaives or cloaky bots, you can make another cloakbot place. It's only 150 metal, and you get twice the amount. And on this map, you can cloaky bot. All the units are pretty cheap, so going for plates is a good idea instead of caretakers. If you're gonna spam a lot of glaives and rodents and even reavers. If you wanna spam knights and phantoms, maybe you want some caretakers then instead. But yeah, you're doing it right in here, scouting for expansion, preventing it from expand. If you paid more attention, you could run up here as well. Defending this position hard, because even if you put a radar here, this is on low ground, so it can be hard to spot if they don't put a radar here. So going in here it's a pretty good raiding path. Also, even going around here, but you got Lotus turrets in space. It's hard to do when the enemy has 2 Lotus turrets in his base. It's hard to do something about And you're spending your metal. No, you're quite not spending your metal. And I think that is putting you a bit ahead, even though you have more metal produced. You have less metal used because you're accessing and have stored 500 metal. So that's a bit of a mistake. If you would have like started this, helping this factory earlier. I like the expansion here. Here your Ronins are fighting Glaives. Yeah, you're making some Ronins is good. Like, you don't need to go Reavers if you don't like want to. Ronins counters the enemy Reavers, so Ronins are decent to have. They're pretty good at pushing like Lotus turrets and light defense as well. So yeah, making Ronins is never like wrong, I'd say. Especially if the enemy is switching to Reavers, then Ronins is a really good choice. If you can just keep the Ronins alive with your own Glaives and kill the enemy Glaives, yeah, there's nothing really that can threaten the Ronins. So Ronin and Glaives is a pretty good combo that can deal with a lot of stuff. Like if the enemy has more rages than you, they can run you down, but if they're making Reavers, they can't run you down. It looks, are you gonna get the counter here? You lose a few Ronins there. Yeah, the enemy had more. And the enemy tried to expand there, but failed. They didn't pay attention to their conjurers, their builders. And you're still accessing. Now I would like make more caretakers or plates. Yeah. You really need to spend more metal. But otherwise you're doing, yeah, pretty much everything better than your opponent. Other than spending your metal, so to speak. But yeah, if you have the attention, you should still be keeping a few glaives here. Like having 3 glaives here, just checking what's going on would be good. Like there's metal extractors that you could be checking. You have a glaive here. It could have killed like 2 mexes there. Maybe even kill that if you paid attention. Yeah. You lose a Reaver there. Exploit is doing pretty well. You're treating these with your low health. Yeah, it can be hard changing down a Reaver because it gets a little bit longer range doing that. Walking your slings into an enemy, that's a bit of a loss. Oh, and you're letting the enemy get away with a lot of expansion up there. Now the enemy has a stronger army, more units in the middle. You're not trading that favorably here. Like exploit just making decent stuff there. So decent progress. Now your Reavers is dead, which is the thing that initially it's a bit taxing to keep track of all the Reavers. Like you want your Ronins to fire at enemy Reavers and Ronins, and then you want Reavers to be there in case that the enemy is going in for them. Going for slings here, a few slings is okay. You stop making slings now, that's good, because slings are not really going to hit targets that are moving all the time, like these Ronins and Reavers. They're not going to hit often. Then Ronins are really a lot better than slings. Yeah, you can see here that you're still accessing metal. You have been accessing metal quite a bit here. Metal produce, you were ahead, but metal use, you're far below him. So yeah, you're slowly losing the fight here. You're not paying enough attention to this fight. And you made slings which are not doing much. Like, I think that what is exploit doing better than you're doing here? I think exploit is better at keeping his reavers alive, and you're not as good at keeping your units alive. And now you're also like making glaives. Yeah, glaives against this number of reavers is not good unless you're taking them to go raiding. Like taking 4 raiders to go raiding in this situation is it's a bit dire, but if you're done it early, that's fine. Yeah. Would I recommend you to do anything earlier? I mean, it's also a thing you can consider, like the enemy is making good progress with their army and you're kinda running into it one by one here. And your attrition is pretty bad, so you need to set a new rally point for a factory, like further behind, so you don't run into the enemy all the time. Yeah. And then you also need to, you need to like be a bit better with keeping your reavers at the right position, so they don't die so much to the rodents. Another thing to consider is, it requires a case of like, before you see it happen, you can like put down some defenses here. But yeah, now you didn't have any concept to put down defenses there, and it's a bit hard to know when you need to put down defenses in a situation like this. Like, adding a few Lotus turrets to your front line here makes it a lot harder for the enemy to push in. Like the Ronins take damage against the Lotus turrets, and the Reavers also take damage as they move slowly up on the hill. So yeah. And you're trying to make a factory there, but that's too late. You still have some energy income here, yeah. I mean, now you haven't scouted this, you haven't really scouted here, so, I mean, you scouted this being built, so you could probably assume that the enemy has this expansion. But if the enemy was slower to the expansion and didn't have this, yeah, you might have a shot back into this game, with, since you have a lot of economy here. Making eco here is, I mean, in this situation it was alright. If you have your commander next to it, then the enemy can't raid easily and you have a few Lotus turrets. So yeah, that's fine in this situation. But yeah, now the enemy has a huge economic advantage. Yeah, and you're really far behind. But if the enemy didn't have all this area, then maybe you could have a shot back into this game. So yeah, I'd recommend like, you wanna making a Stinger as defense against Ronins is fine. Ogres are pretty good against cloaky bots. They can struggle a bit against knights, so you're lucky that exploits started making them. They also struggle a bit to chase down Ronins. But yeah. So yeah. So yeah, you need to focus on actually spending your metal. You can see here that you were ahead of metal used pretty well, and you were ahead a little bit, but you didn't use that metal, so you actually fell behind. You did some decent raiding, but then you kind of stopped raiding and you gave the enemy all this expansion for free. Where, I mean, if you had sent out a conjurer earlier, you might have gotten this expansion for free instead. And made a few Lotus turrets and stuff like that. So that's a thing you can consider. Yeah, so keep up with the raiding and you will be a lot better off in this situation, and make sure to spend your metal. And also if you look at like value lost here, yeah, you started losing more and more. The early losses were kind of fine. You lost a few units there, but you were also like checking the enemy expansion and raiding and stuff, so that's good that you're preventing the enemy from expanding. But then you stop raiding, and yeah, then you stopped raiding and you like fell behind, and when you started the middle fight here, you kind of like, yeah, you weren't keeping your reavers alive, and the Ronins, you're kind of spread out. if you had kept up with your micro with your glaives, you could probably have protected your Ronins with your own glaives a bit better. But yeah, I guess it's an attention thing as well. Like if you have the like attention to keep up with raiding while the main fight is going on here, and like keeping your Reavers alive and letting your Ronins fight, and also being able to realize, oh, I'm losing this. I need to make some like defenses here to change the situation so the enemy doesn't push through. Yeah, like this is a pretty good combo. Like some glaives, some reavers, and yeah, reavers and Ronins. Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat for cloaky bots. It's hard to like defeat easily. So you kind of have to match them in that game usually. Defenses can help because they outranged the reavers and damaged the Ronins. So some light defense helps in this situation as well. If you build a defense here, then the enemy has to choose if they want to go around, and then you can like either engage their units here or here, for example, and they have to choose where they go, and they won't be threatening your base as much. So yeah, so realizing you have to make some defense here would have helped as well. Anyway, good luck and have fun.